Okay, so hopefully you just saw that message and you can go ahead and click into it to accept our recording today. We're kicking off a new series of our Wednesday trainings. We wrapped up 2 weeks ago. We wrapped up our Windows to Wealth series. I feel like we had a great February with some tremendous contributors who shared their sort of investor journeys, whether it was working with investors or becoming an investor themselves in the real estate space. So really excellent shares there. We shifted gears last week to talk about our Wellness Edge launch starting on Friday. I'm super, super excited about this. If you, in any aspect of your life, um, recognize that work is somewhere up here and everything else is somewhere down here, then I hope that you might find a way to make time for that hour every Friday morning. We're going to cover a lot of topics, huge range of topics around wellness. And you're going to hear from a lot of different people within our network. So much value there, not just to get the content. So like, for example, Friday, we're going to hear from Philippa, part of our Leaders Edge network. She's among our 400 plus agents. She is a licensed dietitian, has experience in the nutrition space, and wants to bring us some information about how we can better manage nutrition in our lives, right? One of those things that falls to the bottom. If I could ask everyone to mute also, if you're not, and thank you for that in advance. But so, finding ways to better prioritize personal aspects of our life so that you feel more in balance with professional aspects. And we're going to kick it off Friday with nutrition. So you're going to get the content. That's benefit number one. But benefit number two is that you're going to get to meet and get to know a lot of other people within our network through that Friday hour. So I really hope that, like I said, you'll find time to build that into your schedule, at least for the topics that most appeal to you, if not for something on a more consistent basis. What we're doing today, what we're starting today, and we're going to go all the way through April, is we're going to really dive into organization from the goggles of technology. Okay, because here's the deal. A lot of the content that you're seeing today and in the weeks going forward comes directly from conversations that I've been having with agents throughout our network, some within my team, some broader than that. But generally, it's coming from a need that is sort of showing itself as a pattern. When we talk about the fact that we're in a virtual brokerage, as I think most of us who are on the call today are, what I like to emphasize when we talk about that is that we leverage technology. So we're going to talk each week about how you're leveraging technology in your business structure to help you feel organized, help you feel productive, efficient, and effective in the work that you do, right? To then, let's tie it all in, get back to a better work-life balance, right? We're going to kick off today, and I'm going to share with you a little bit, sort of where we're headed for March, and then just give you a little taste of April. But today we're going to talk specifically about time, ways that you can better leverage technology to manage your time so that at the end of the day, you put your head to the pillow, you feel like it's been a productive one. Next week, we're going to talk about technology and managing the people in your life, specifically the clients and the vendors that you're working with. Then we're going to talk about, are you moving toward a paperless environment? Are you best leveraging technology to help you do what you need to do on the go without having to rely on a paper file or paperwork or physical paper pushing to get the job done? And then another big one, which I think there's a lot of need, is helping you organize using technology, money. It's that sort of space, just as we'll be coming up on tax time, that nobody wants to talk about, but we need to talk about, right? Because if you have the strategies and put them in place, then it won't be so daunting. Then April, we're just going to really sort of move into the marketing and social media space, not in like revolutionary ways, but in small, meaningful ways that you can leverage technology to help you in those areas of your business. My goal in delivering this content broadly every week over the next 8 weeks or so is to try and give you free or low cost options that might help you in each of these areas. We can't always accomplish free, but rest assured, and I think if you've been on my trainings in the past, you know that if I'm recommending something that has a cost to it, I don't take that lightly because I know we all have budgets to manage. But so it's just food for thought for you. I would never suggest that you just jump in just for the sake of adding a bill to your payables. Okay, so let's dive in. And if anybody wants to share at any time, we're a small enough group that you can, feel free to raise your hand, but I'm also happy to just have you unmute and jump in because sometimes I really stink at managing the chat or checking for hands raised. So feel free. But let's start off with some questions, and they're kind of contemplative.
Thank you. Have a good day.
If you have anything that you want to share, then feel free to go ahead and give us your thoughts on these questions. But here's some things I want you to think about. As you started the day today, did you have in your mind what you needed to accomplish for today? And did you think beyond today to what you needed to accomplish this week? Maybe even going a little bit further, what you needed to accomplish this month, this year. We've gone through some goal planning sessions, so hopefully you have those broad annual goals in place. I just have to figure out who I'm not muting here. I think I got everybody. How are your goals tying into what you need to accomplish on a more granular level? And think smaller, right? Instead of broadly over the course of the year. And then how are you managing that to-do list? That list of accomplishments that lies ahead of you. Are you like me, where you can pretty much single-handedly keep Post-it in business? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm as much leveraging what I'm sharing with you today for myself as I'm encouraging you to do in your life, because it can have such a powerful impact on your overall productivity and satisfaction with the work that you're doing day in and day out. So how are you managing the to-do list? And also, when are you managing the to-do list? Are you waiting until now, 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, to figure out what needs to be done today? Or are you giving some thought to that in advance of today? And then on the flip side of that, are you actually reflecting on the past day, the past week, to think about what worked, what didn't work, and how you can maybe better organize the structure of your day or your week so that you feel better, that you feel like you score higher on that productivity scale. Okay. And the other thing, if we were digging a little bit deeper, let's think about when you build your to-do list, are you setting up a list that's achievable? Or are you every day setting up a list that it's impossible for you to accomplish everything that you put out there? And you're basically setting yourself up for that reflection at the end of the day to be a little bit disappointing. Okay. Think about all those things. Again, not something that you have to respond to here, but for yourself privately. So what's our mission? Our mission today is to, knowing that we have to-do lists, knowing that we have competing demands for our time, knowing that we need to find a way to better prioritize our time from day to day. How can we leverage technology to make all those things feel better? Okay. Where we're going to start is a really obvious place, but again, obvious only in the sense that we know it exists, not obvious in the sense that everybody's leveraging it. Okay. Again, that's why we're talking about this today, because I do see a need. I talk with a lot of agents that don't have a system in place. So let's talk about how we can leverage technology. I'm going to guess that most of us on this call today have a Gmail account or have an Outlook account, like an Office 365 account. Is there anybody that doesn't have an account in one of those two platforms that you can maybe throw it out there either in the chat or just unmute and let me know? But I think most of us, I don't hear anybody, so let's double check. Yes. Thank you, Teresa. Our expectations are all very high. So here's where we're going to start to manage that a little bit better and put ourselves in a place to be realistic, be practical. And I think what's most important is I'm going to introduce a word here, be focused. Okay. Have you ever, I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Disney movie Up, about a boy and an older gentleman that travel with a house with a bunch of balloons to try and get to South America. But along the way, they meet a dog, and the dog is forever distracted by squirrels, like to the point where the balloons are like popping, they're running out of time, and this dog just keeps setting them off course. That's easily the life of a realtor, right? And it happens in other businesses too. But how often are we driven by putting out fires, or distractions that come up in our day, or having to circle back and constantly manage email and never get to that task or project or sort of to-do item, the bullet item on our list that needs more of our focus and time? And how much do we let those distractions of the constant management of the inbox, for example, how often do we let that be the excuse for why something didn't get done? Maybe something that we didn't want to do. Maybe you didn't want to sit down and get ready for your meeting with your tax accountant. So you found 50 other things to get in the way of that today. But at the end of the day, that just leaves you feeling dissatisfied, and an item now has to roll over onto tomorrow's to-do list. Okay, so here we are. I'm showing you a Gmail calendar. This is not my active calendar. I actually use Outlook. So I've learned to manage my calendar there, but I started to recreate something similar in Gmail, because I'm going to give you a tangible example of how you can take the idea of time management and time blocking and put it to work in your schedule. Okay, put it to work for you on a day-to-day basis. Time blocking is not about being so regimented or so strict or so structured that you can't be flexible to, the curveballs that come your way, that you can't adapt or adjust. You want to start thinking about time blocking as sort of guardrails. Okay. If you are on a windy mountain road, you appreciate that those guardrails are going to give you a guide path. They give you a little bit of sort of security to stay on track. That's exactly what you should think of when you think of time blocking. I read something when I was preparing for today that, Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Well, there's also something called Parkinson's Law that says that work will expand to fill the time that you allow for it to get completed. Okay, so what does that mean? If we don't put structure in our day and recognize that something can be done in 30 minutes or an hour, then if we just sort of leave it open-ended, then it's going to take over and be open-ended in our day. Okay, so here we are. We're going to look at how we might manage in Gmail, something that's free, how you might create a time block situation. Okay. As you go through this, I want you to keep in mind a statistic, building off of the gentleman yesterday with Leaders Edge Mastermind, right? Let's talk about statistics. If numbers are your thing, having time blocking and leveraging a system like this can help you experience up to 80%, 80, that's 80, greater productivity than what you might be experiencing now. So if you see opportunity in that and you feel like, yeah, I need that, I need to feel more productive, you're in the right place. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, here you are, you're at your Gmail calendar. You might use it, 5% of the time, maybe 10% of the time. Maybe you throw on a doctor's appointment or a meeting. We're going to talk about leveraging this more broadly and more completely, start to finish in a day. Okay. Think about a couple things when you first set up your calendar, if you're really starting this pretty much from the ground floor. Think about what your priorities are. And I'm going to give you an example. I thought this through. For me, I definitely feel like I can get sidetracked easily with whether someone has an issue or a problem or my phone rings. So I want to be able to block out time in my calendar that helps me better stay on task, increases my focus. Other thing that I've identified that's important for me in this moment is that I have work-life balance. And if you asked me this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said I needed to actually build it into my calendar, but recognize that your life will change and evolve, and so should your priorities and the way you structure your calendar. For me, I recognize now in this moment that I have to very consciously build in family time into my calendar. Otherwise, it sort of gets sucked up by other things. Okay. So again, you think about what your high level priorities are. What do you want to focus on? Is it because you feel like you're not accomplishing enough in the day? Is it because there are projects that are not getting your attention? Are you looking for greater balance? Do you feel like you have too much sort of chaos and want to tone that down a little bit? That's only for you to decide. Okay, so that's your first step, what you're going to do here. Remember, reevaluate that regularly. Okay. The other thing that you want to think about is you set up your calendar initially is how do you want to start your day and end your day? Okay. Almost create like a bookends. They're sometimes called, where will you begin and where will you end? Make sure that you're factoring in downtime, sleep time, break time, and meal time as well into your schedule. One of the things that I've learned that I set up here with this calendar is that there's this little hidden gem for me in my world called the 5 o'clock hour. It's where I'm at that stage in life that I'm pretty much never asleep at 5 a.m. But I lay there and wish that I were. So what I've discovered, though, is that I can take that time in the morning when the world is still quiet before other things have started, and I'm going to let that be the beginning point, sort of the launch point of my day. And so what I do is I go into the calendar, and I'm going to broaden this a little bit so you can see it better. But I wanted to make sure that you saw that sort of my calendar is starting at the 5 a.m. point here, Monday through Friday. And then I also created sort of an ending point at the end of the day for 9 p.m. Okay. Now I might want to go back in and layer on additional things between 9 and 10 or 9 and 11 in the evening. But for now, I think it's good for our exercise to say that our day, 5 a.m. begin, 9 p.m. end. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick and make this a little bit bigger so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay. So when you're working in Gmail in particular, you have the ability first to set up your calendar with recurring or repeating tasks. I encourage you to do that. Once you've identified your sort of starting and ending points, layer in the things that you know are going to recur either every day or every week. So you'll notice, and I'm a color coder too. So I like color helps me further with my goal of sort of organization, know which bucket, if you will, certain activities will fall into. So I know that I have 3 recurring Leader's Edge activities every week. The first one is the Tuesday Mastermind. Then we have our Wednesday training. And now we have our Friday Wellness. To set up each of those trainings as recurring, you can simply, and I'll show you as if I were setting up a new one, you simply click on the calendar and right away a new box is going to pop up. Let's say that we'll just call it a new event that I can go back and delete. Let's just say it's Monday Hub. Okay. Let's say that this is going to happen every Monday from 9 to 10 a.m. Okay. What I can do is I can click on this More Options button. And you'll notice that the box is going to get bigger now about this particular event. So I have Monday Huddle. I'm going to tell my calendar that I want this activity to repeat. And it's going to happen every Monday. Okay, so now it's going to put it on my calendar every Monday from 9 to 10. And the other thing that I might do is this huddle might relate, let's say, to my team specifically. So maybe anything for Connection Realtors, I might want to highlight in a different color. Let's go with the tangerine. Okay. The other thing that's really great about setting up these events is that you have this sort of description schedule or section here at the bottom. Let's say that that Monday huddle is a Zoom every week and the Zoom link is the same. Stick the link right in here in this description section at the bottom, and then you're going to go ahead and save the event. Now you'll see going back to Monday the 6th, here's Monday huddle. Now let's just take a peek at what happens if I go to next week. Now I look at Monday the 13th, there's Monday huddle. Again, the 20th, there's Monday huddle. Now let's say on the 20th, maybe there's not going to be a huddle. I can very easily go in on the 20th, click on the event. You'll see a little pencil mark. Just click on the pencil. I can go ahead and delete this event. So I'm going to show you, there's actually another way I like to do it. When I click on the event, rather than click on the pencil to make edits to it, I can put it in the trash can to delete it right from here. Now notice what happens when I go to delete it. It recognizes that it's a recurring event. And so it's asking me, do you want to do this for all events, past, present, and future, or is it just this one particular event? In this case, I only want to get rid of the 20th. So I can go ahead and click this event and OK. Okay. Now look what happens to the 20th. It removes it from the 20th, but if I go back to the 13th or go ahead to the 27th, it's still there. Okay, so when you're building out your calendar, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these now. When you're building out your calendar, the first thing that you should do, once you've identified your sort of starting time and stopping time, is now build out all of those recurring activities that you know you want to commit to on a weekly basis, or at least a most weeks basis, right? You might have that production mastermind on your calendar every Tuesday. But that doesn't mean that sometimes there won't be a greater priority that prevents you from attending, okay? But for those things that are recurring that you'd like the space and time for in your calendar, layer them in exactly the way I just showed you. Anybody have any questions about that to start? Okay. So
Yes.
now yeah.
Hi. I'm so bad. I don't use well, I mean, I have Google, calendars, but I'm bad. I need something like right in front of me. So I still use the paper. So my first question is, I'm assuming there's a way that you can print this, right? And just have it in front of you with all the colors. Okay, so that was the first question. But the second question, can you add links to this? So because right before every meeting, I'm hunting and pecking in my email to look for like your meeting's link. Can we add links in here?
That's exactly. So if I click on this, let me see if I can actually, I don't know if I can grab it real quick, but what you can do, I'm going to try and do it right now so I can prove the point. Okay, so here I am. I have the training. So I'm going to show the invitation and I'm going to pull the link right here. This is for our Wednesday training Zoom. And then I'm going to hop over. So you're pulling it, let's say from your email, for example. Then what you can do is you can click into the event and edit it. Or when you create it, you see in this description section, I'm going to go ahead and paste that link right here. And then once I save it and I save it to all events, when I go back and click on that event in my calendar, the link will be there. So imagine you are sitting, here it is, 9:55. Maybe you're sitting in front of your computer. Maybe you have your phone and you're on the go today. You can access your Gmail calendar, your Google Calendar from your phone just as easily as you can from your computer to add things, to change things, or in this case at 9:55 to go ahead and access that link. So you're not running around finding, what you need. You can also print it, but I will challenge that thinking a little bit and would say, try to move yourself away from paper towards paperless. It's a process, but as you get more and more accustomed and accountable to this sort of technology-based system, I think you'll find that you need the paper version less and less, especially too, because how many times have we walked out of the office, out of the house, and didn't have the notebook or, that printout that we're looking for? If you're able to leverage it on your phone and on your laptop, then odds are you always have your phone at your side, so that you're not lost without it, if you will. You can print it. You can go up to the gear box, and you'll see when you click on this little gear in Gmail, you just hit print. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. You can just set up whether you want it to be landscape or portrait. You can print out one day. If I only wanted to see today, if I wanted to see the whole week, you can definitely do all of that very easily here in the settings right before you print. But I encourage you, like I said, 21 days to start a new habit. So if it takes you a few weeks to
I'll try. You want to know something really funny though? I'm so
Yeah.
bad. Every other week, it started in January. I put something and I put little initials, HA, and I never wrote down what it meant. I'm like, I'll remember. And to this day, every other, I'm like, I have no idea what I was talking about. So whatever.
Well, I guess
Every
that's a really good point that you make there, Rochelle, is that when you're entering things on your calendar, make sure you're using a language that you can
everything else
interpret.
has a description except for that. I have no idea.
Well, good luck. I hope it doesn't hit you at 3 o'clock in the morning either. I hope it comes to you during waking hours, exactly what HA meant. But
thank you. Now I have one other question, and maybe we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about like going paperless. Again, paper, I'm so bad. I have a million yellow notebooks everywhere.
Yes.
I tried Rocket Book. Is it Rocket Book? I think Rocket, where you write it on like an electronic tab.
Okay.
And then it uploads to, which is great, and I've tried it a couple times, but I still go back to this. So what how do you write your notes from all these meetings that we're in?
So one of the things that I started doing, and that probably we'll talk even more about it in our conversation when we talk about paper in a couple of weeks, but I'm not unlike you, having a lot of notebooks everywhere. And one of the things that I've learned to do at a minimum, like to give you a perfect example, I try to make sure that I'm in the brokers meeting for the state of New Jersey every Thursday and can deliver content back to my team or to the larger network when circumstances apply. But what I've discovered, what works for me, instead of having a notebook and having 3 different notebooks and trying to find which notebook has that particular week's content that I can go back and reference, I just sit at my laptop in Word and I open Word on a separate screen. And I will literally jot down notes in Word, and I will take screenshots of the different screens that they might share. So if I needed information about CE, or I needed to know upcoming details about the spring kickoff, on the 30th, I'm just sort of snipping and pasting into Word, and it's continuous. So I have one Word document for all 2023 broker notes that I can then access because I'm in Word, because I'm in Office. I can go back and access that on my laptop or through OneDrive very easily, depending on where I am and what I have in terms of technology in front of me. Much easier than panicking because I don't have the right notebook or that physical piece of paper in front of me. So things like that, again, that's not rocket science, right? That's not fancy program. That's just Word working for me in a way that I knew my other system, my paper system, wasn't.
That's a good
Hi,
idea.
Diana.
Even here, just have the laptop, because I can actually, most people, well, I'm older, type faster than write. So
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. So it makes me more efficient in being able to keep up with the content, because I do absolutely type much faster.
Yeah.
But then just to copy and paste slides too with the snippet tool is great. Did you have a question too, Sarah?
Hi, Diana.
Hi.
So I use my Google Calendar for all my business tasks for the day. I plan my calendar a week, 2 weeks ahead, but my personal goals for the day, like the small ones, I always feel like I have to write them down, even if it's on a piece of napkin, so I can feel better when I go do that checkbox, like take out the garbage, take out recycling, cook, take the meat out of the freezer. Is that bad?
Not at all. Listen, but I think what my point would be, right, because we're talking about how you're leveraging technology. My point to you would be, how do you get away from writing everything down on the napkin and maybe better utilizing your calendar? There is an absolute level of satisfaction and sort of, it goes to sort of mental mindset, I would say, when you're able to cross things off the list. You know, that personal sense of accomplishment in turn motivates you to be more focused and driven to cross the next thing off the list. So I'm not trying at all tell you to get away from making those lists or prepping for your day. I'm just trying to say, how can you best leverage technology and bring it all together? Bring the to-do list and bring the time management all under one umbrella.
100%. And honestly, that idea is brilliant of just have the Word document open and do like a slideshow with all the photos that you take of the presentation. I love that because I'm just like Rochelle. I have no stack of notebooks with notes.
And it's after a while, you get frustrated because you know you're trying to find something and you can't remember which color book it's in.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
thank you so much for this.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good. So here we are. We're building out our calendar. Let me just double check real quick. Oh, good. So you found, so Google Calendar, you can download it, Christine. And if anybody else is looking for it, yes, you can. And I can go back for anybody who's stuck and can't find it. You can either go through, I think the Gmail app, or you can download the actual calendar, the Google Calendar app on your phone. But again, it's the idea that you're updating it in one place, whether you're in front of your laptop or your phone, and then it's going to appear everywhere. How freeing is that you don't have to have that piece of paper anymore? That happened to me. I was not too long ago, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago even, right? I was working from a piece of paper. I decided I was going to try something new and I was going to come up with one piece of paper, not sort of unlike this piece of paper. And I was going to manage my entire week and stick to that one piece of paper. So it wasn't going to be 30,000, Post-it notes. It wasn't going to be different notebooks. It wasn't going to be, a new to-do list every day. I was going to work from one piece of paper. Okay. That was great. And it actually was working for me Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, I was on the road all day and did not have my list with me. And my focus literally suffered. My motivation, my sort of guardrails were not in front of me. So here, the system that I had built failed me because I didn't have the piece of paper. So what I'm just trying to say is if you can get to this point and leverage technology in this way, it's going to benefit you. And let's not forget, if we take a step back and remember, like I said at the beginning, virtual brokerage means we should be good at technology, means we should be comfortable with technology. And if we're not today, that's okay. But let's work towards getting there, getting more comfortable and better utilizing it. That's what this is a step towards. Okay. So you've layered in your recurring items. If you've got Zooms, you can go ahead and copy those links, paste them right into your recurring event. So again, it's right at your fingertips. You're not scrambling to find the email that's got the link. You're simply clicking on your activity, clicking on your Zoom link to launch it. Okay. Let's talk about other things that you might want to factor in. You want to consider personal time. Okay. So again, we mentioned before, for me personally, in my example, I've discovered this sweet spot in my world from 5 to 7 a.m. My house is quiet. Most of the world is quiet and my email is quiet. So for me, I'm going to set that up. I created, in my example here, I created a recurring event for project work. Now, hopefully that doesn't mean that I'm going to start getting phone calls and text messages from anybody between 5 and 7, because now they know I'm up and working. But the goal here in this time frame for me, Monday to Friday, is to take the time on projects that I otherwise try to start in the typical, 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 day and get sidetracked by more immediate or pressing needs. So these are things that I might need an hour of quiet or, 2 hours of quiet to work through and feel like I'm making progress on. So I went into my calendar. I did the same thing like I did with the Leaders Edge events, is I created a recurring event. In this case, I'm going to show you when I click on edit, rather than click on it being recurring like once a week. In this case, I set it up to be recurring every weekday, Monday to Friday. Okay. And I'm going to go with a different color theme because, again, I think that helps me mentally know what my obligations are for the day. So anything that I might set up in blue might be something for, maybe me personally that I'm working on, as opposed to, say, like that tangerine I mentioned might be a team related activity. The gold might be a Leader's Edge related activity. Okay. Now let's say here I am today. Let me get back to today. Here I am today on the 8th. So you'll notice that the way that the Gmail calendar typically works is that time that has passed, everything will look muted. Time that's still ahead of you or in the moment will still look vibrant in its color. Let's say for tomorrow, specifically in that 5 to 7 time frame, I know that I want to work on a website project that takes time, that needs my complete focus, that I haven't been able to get to during the day so far this week. I can go ahead and click on this event for tomorrow. I'm going to click on the pencil to edit it. And again, remember, you can do this in either your phone or on the web. And I'm going to put website. Okay. I can put it here in the title of the event, or I can add details down in the description as well. I really like to put it in the title because when I'm looking at my calendar, the title is what I'm going to see. Okay. And now I'm going to save it. Now watch what happens when I go to save my change. It's asking me, do I want to just change this event or make changes to the whole recurring event? Okay. I just want to change this event. I just know that tomorrow morning's 2-hour block is going to go towards website, and I'm going to click OK. So see how now my event updates for that particular task. So I'm already starting to think ahead to tomorrow to how that project work block is going to work for me. Okay. And what I want my focus to be in those 2 hours. Does that make sense? Good. I'm going to assume there's a bunch of
100%.
thumbs up. Okay, perfect.
100%.
Thank you. The other thing, when you're time blocking, be practical in your time frames. So you'll notice with Wednesday's training, I block from 8:30 to 11:30. Okay. We put ourselves on the calendar for 10 to 11, but I know oftentimes we go a little bit over the 11 o'clock hour. And I also know that I like to prep a little bit in advance of our 10 o'clock start. So I'm being very practical about the time that I'm allotting when I time block. Okay. The other thing is that you should build in time to take a break. You need to build in time to, get ready in the morning. I know once I finish my project time from 5 to 7, then I'm going to shift gears and think about, getting myself ready, getting my family ready and out the door to start the day. So Monday to Friday, I'm going to block that time off as well. Okay. Again, I created a recurring event, set it up to recur Monday to Friday, as opposed to every Monday morning or every Thursday afternoon, if you will. Okay. The other thing that as I said, if I'm looking at this as my calendar and my experience, I need to factor in family time because it's being sacrificed more than I'm comfortable or satisfied at the moment. So I'm going to build in time and there's absolutely nothing wrong with acknowledging this. It's about acknowledging it and then taking steps to correct it. I'm factoring the time in, not because I'm a robot and need to plan time with my family, but because it's a reminder to me that I'm dealing with a lot of distractions in a lot of different directions right now. And my family needs my focus and my attention for a certain part of each of their days. So this is my way of reminding myself of that and giving focus to that. Okay. Now for today, I happen to have a dinner. So I'm going to go ahead on today and I'm going to edit the event. I'm going to change it to my dinner at 7. And I might even change the color too. I'm going to save it. I'm just going to save this event. Okay. So what this is going to help me recognize too is that I realize that I can't devote every weeknight from 7 to 9 to my family because there will be events that come up, just like there will be events in your life too. The important thing is when you're planning out your week, planning out your month, if I see that I have maybe too many events competing with this time block going forward, then I know I'm not going to schedule another dinner for this week. Maybe I'll schedule a lunch, or maybe I'll push it into next week, because I've identified this family time as important enough that it's going on my calendar as a time block. Okay.
Deanna,
So yeah.
Deanna, do you let clients know that you're not available in that time frame?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard competing views on this, and I think it's going to vary. For me, it's going to vary from literally for me from night to night. If I am sitting with my kids and we're just, watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, trying to see who's smarter than everybody else, then, if that's how we're using family time, then if my phone rings and somebody needs me, I'm going to, I'll probably answer it. But at the same time, if I'm in the middle of a conversation with one of my, teenage boys about something that might be really taxing or stressing to them, absolutely not. That is during that time, my absolute focus, because they need to know from me that they are a priority, right? So, I think that's a really personal decision. I have no problem I take no issue with anybody who wants to be upfront about that, or who wants to sort of put their mail on do not disturb, or their phone on do not disturb, or, I think in those cases, those are, if you are really like struggling that even just doing this, you're still not committing to that time, then yes, maybe it does call for something a little bit more sort of firm and drastic, letting the rest of the world know that you're unavailable. But I think most times it can be managed from day to day. Is that a fair answer?
Yeah. Now I've heard other people say that they, some people they give in their listing appointments and their buyer appointments, I'm not available from here to here, and they make it known, and they're, but you're right. I mean, I feel like everybody's a little bit, there's different situations. I have people that work, well, we all do, people that work, full time. They don't get home until 6 or 7 or whatever. So you kind of have to, but you're right. You can just turn your phone off for like an hour, and you don't necessarily have to tell people. But
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the individual client.
Yes. And I think the broader answer to that, Rochelle, is that when you're meeting a new client or working with a new agent, it's about setting expectations broadly that, if you set the expectation that you do your best to get back to people within 3 to 4 hours, or within one business day, or that, you maybe set the expectation that if you call me at 11 p.m., I'm not going to answer your call, because I'm human and have a family and personal obligations, just like everybody else. Those are conversations that you can have up front, that not only are you letting the client know maybe what your boundaries are, but you're also in that same conversation letting them know everything you are doing for them. And so I think that's all about the full soup to nuts, setting the expectation of the relationship. Because I can promise you, the minute you answer the phone at midnight, the expectation will be that you're always available at midnight.
Exactly.
So yeah. So just setting expectations. But for me, having the visual of seeing family time on the calendar accomplishes 2 things. Number one, make sure that I'm focused on it, so that I don't come to the point, because this is what was happening for me. So I was coming to the point at the end of the day, head on the pillow. Damn it, I did not connect with one of my kids today to a level that I'm content with. And I can't let that happen again. And so on the flip side too, not only making sure that I'm focused on it, but making sure that I'm finding balance and I don't overschedule things. Okay. I remember one of my first jobs. I was early. I wasn't married very long, and I had this new job at a big bank. I went to work for JP Morgan. So size-wise, kind of along the lines of what we're seeing, say, with EXP, with just thousands and thousands of people. And I remember my husband saying, what do you think? And I was just like, yeah, I love to schedule meetings. Everything's a meeting all the time, and it just was different from anything that I had experienced in sort of the small town jobs, local jobs that I'd had up to that point. Now, 3 decades into the work world, I totally get it. It's not about, just being trendy and scheduling a meeting. It's about acknowledging with the people that you're working with, whether it's on a project or, a business, a business goal or whatever the case may be. The reason that you have the meeting is because you're putting everyone on notice that there needs to be focus and attention on it. That when you set aside the time to focus on something, you're kind of trying to separate out the time that you don't have for something. Okay.
I think that conditional offer.
I'm in the middle of a Zoom, but okay.
It's mail away.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just got some very good news.
Share with us. Share with us.
Sorry. My second son is 18 years old, and he, for the last 18 months, has known that he wanted to go to the Naval Academy. Has not looked at anything else. He's been super focused on the Naval Academy. He wants to go and serve our country, and he wants to play baseball while he does it. And we're coming down to the wire. He'd have to leave the end of June, and we still didn't know. And today we just found out he got his conditional approval. He had a shrimp allergy, of all things. That was standing in his way. So, I'm sorry, Chris just popped his head in. We've been stressing about this one. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I apologize, but that's really
Don't apologize. You just made us happy. Thank you.
That's pretty cool. Thank you. Thank you. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so back to time blocking. So again, I hope that helped answer maybe some question or a little bit about what the purpose of this is and what it's designed to do, to give you focus. I do want to emphasize too that this is not about not being flexible or not being adaptable. Things happen day to day, and you can absolutely move through that. You can make adjustments and not feel like the world is coming to an end. These are your guardrails. Okay. They're not your sort of handcuffs. Okay. Two very different things. So I'm just going to check in the chat real quick. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh, what a deep breath I'm taking right now. Okay, so
Deanna, go give him a hug. I feel like we can wait 2 seconds.
No, he's at school. He's actually at school. So I don't even know if he knows at this point, but I will certainly reach out to him after this. Thank you so much. Oh gosh. Okay, so now that we know where our starting and ending times are. We've started to factor in our recurring items. Now you want to plan out the rest of your day. So I factored in a dinner. You will want to look at your schedule, and there could be things that you create as recurring, or there could be things that you create as sort of, today, 12 o'clock to 12:30 might be your lunch break, but tomorrow it might have to be from 1 to 1:30. But the point is, make sure that you're factoring those things in too. The other thing that I would encourage you to do as you start to build out day to day, and not everybody can do, like Sarah, I think you said you maybe plan out like 1 to 2 weeks at a time. Not everybody can do that perfectly, and that's absolutely okay. But I would suggest at a minimum, you want to get to the point where you're planning out at least 1 day ahead, or maybe 2. Okay, when something comes up that you're scheduling, go ahead and put it on your calendar. But then tonight, say after that 9 o'clock, after my dinner is over and I get home, I'm going to, of course, check on my kiddos, make sure everything's good. Then I'm going to take a little bit of time to look at my calendar for the next day and build into my calendar where I have empty times, the things that I want to accomplish tomorrow, whether it was things that weren't fully resolved today, maybe new things came up. And also too, you want to go back and make sure that there's connection between what's happening on a day-to-day level, going back to what your goals are, your broader business goals for the year, your personal goals for the year. There needs to be a correlation between these two. They can't work in isolation from one another. Okay. So the idea here is that you can really build out a calendar that when I look at tomorrow, by the time I get to tonight and I get to the point where I plan out tomorrow, I'm going to see color from 5 a.m. clear through to 9 p.m. tomorrow. I'm going to build in time to address emails. And if you are concerned about being responsive. I urge you, I challenge you, unless it's something very specific in a very specific situation or scenario, I urge you to challenge the thinking that you have to respond to every email in 5 minutes or less. Okay. Because when you operate your day like that, your day is going to, as a result, feel chaotic, and you are going to feel controlled by your inbox. It will reduce your productivity, it will reduce your efficiency, and it will affect your mindset. Try, even if it's only 1 or 2 days a week, try building in specific times during the day to answer your email. So maybe you allow for your hour or hour and a half of training, and then you build in a half hour to just address emails. Then maybe you have an hour meeting, or you devote an hour to cold calling, and then another half hour you build in specifically for, going through your emails and catching up on emails. And guess what? In that half hour, if you're catching up on emails, then devote that full 30 minutes to that task. If there aren't emails that are pressing in your inbox, or you feel like you caught up on things, I can promise you there are probably old emails still stuck in your inbox that you haven't organized in some way. So take full advantage of that 30 minutes related to that task to make it work for you, to feel like you're gaining traction in that particular area. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that, or comments or feedback, or would you be willing to try this out if you aren't already, and maybe give it a go to be a little bit more structured about how you're using this calendar feature?
I'm putting everything you just said into action, and I'm gonna try. Now I wake up at 6. I have to kind of like wake up at 5 now, because I like your schedule, 5 to 7. I like
Well, I'm not telling everybody to wake up at 5. Sarah.
a good benefit of having those 2 hours before everybody else wake up.
It is actually, I do, for myself, I do see tremendous benefit, because by the time I sort of circle back around and I've dropped kids off at school and dealt with all of that, and I sit down at my desk in the office at 8:30, I feel like I've already accomplished something, that I've already got my focus. I don't feel like I'm just trying to figure out what that focus or energy is going to be. So for me personally, huge mental benefit to that. Okay. The other things I want to make sure that we touch on, a couple of other things, again, technology based, that could be really beneficial for you. And even maybe, Rochelle, going back to your point too, one of the things that's important for me in my schedule and how I manage my time, and I think for the world that we're in today, is I want to make sure that I have blocks of time available for the people who might need time with me, whether we're going through something team related, production related, resource related. Sometimes people just want to connect on KB Core, or they want to have sort of that one-on-one conversation about, yeah, help me put this into play, or whatever the case may be. Do some brainstorming sessions on lead generation or marketing, or help me build out my goals, whatever that is. I want to make sure that I have blocks of time in my schedule that allow people to come to me on demand and book an appointment, book a time with me. So for me, remember I said I actively use my calendar in Outlook. So I'm using Gmail today just more for informative, like instructional purposes, but I use Outlook. So one of the things that I leverage with Outlook is an app called Calendly, which you may or may not have heard of. I think more and more people are using it, so the odds are that most of you have heard of it. Calendly has, you can set up a free account, or you can go like premium and do some upgrades and things. I ended up upgrading my account for one really huge reason. Actually, two. I wanted to be able to have greater functionality, that I could create a variety of different options for people that I could turn on and off, depending on the time of year or time of week or time of month. And I can explain that more in a second. But the other thing that I wanted to do was be able to leverage an integration that Calendly has. Integration meaning taking multiple technologies and bringing them together to work together. So what Calendly will do is, and I'm going to show you a little bit of this at work, I can go in, here's my actual Calendly account. I can create different event types. So the one I use most regularly, which I have active right now, that's why you see it yellow as opposed to the ones that are grayed out, is I offer one-on-ones. It's a 45-minute booking session. And you can set up a link and you can incorporate this link right into your email signature. So I'm not always going to like find the link and track it down. If somebody calls me and says, oh, can I just get some of your time? I'll be like, hey, remember that email that I just sent you this morning? Go into my email signature, click on the link and go ahead and find a time that works. Okay. So what I'm doing when I set that up is in Calendly, I'm setting up my availability. Okay, so remember I said the event that I created was a one-on-one. So if somebody wants to book a one-on-one. So I go into the calendar and I will specifically block out times that I'm available for somebody to book that event with me. Okay, you'll notice that for this week, I have no times available. That was intentional. I'm just mentally at a point where I knew I needed to pull back a little bit and deal with some of my bigger projects so that I could get traction and feel like I was making progress on things that were sort of maybe suffering a little bit. So I had to pull back a little bit on my hours. Okay. But I can go in and I try to set these hours well in advance. You can do the same thing. If you wanted to be able, let's say with new clients, and you wanted to be able to advertise yourself or, have clients or prospective clients set up a time with you to get a home valuation. Or maybe they have questions about real estate and want to do like a one-on-one Zoom. You can set all of that up in Calendly. And then what I like about that integration is that I connected it to my Zoom account. So when somebody schedules a one-on-one with me, they have the ability to say, I either want to meet in person or I want to meet by Zoom. And if they choose Zoom, integration automatically creates a meeting and puts it in my Zoom calendar, assigns the Zoom meeting and creates the link and emails it to everybody. Okay, so I'm not having to do anything manually when that meeting is set up. Okay, so I love Calendly and I love the way that it works and integrates with my Zoom account. And then it also is easy when it comes into my Outlook account. It goes right onto my calendar. The one thing that you want to be aware of, though, is let's say we take a look at next week. I have a block from 3 to 5 on the 13th. Let me take a look at my calendar. Okay. So here I am on the 13th, and I have nothing blocked on my calendar from 3 to 5. That's the caution when you want to create something like a Calendly where you want the public to sort of have access to you and you want to be available for them. You don't want to forget that you have blocked those times. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself real quick in a situation where you're double booked. So what I like to do is I'll go in and I will set up an event just for that time, and I'll call it a Calendly block. And I might go again with a completely different color. Let's go with green. We haven't seen green yet. Okay. And so I will go in and put those blocks on my calendar. I try, for me personally, with my Calendly to be as consistent in those blocks as possible. So oftentimes you'll see like the Monday recurring time block, the Tuesday recurring time block. It doesn't always happen that way. I can't go back to last month to be able to show you, but as things come up, week to week, I might have to make adjustments. But when I put that Calendly block, what that's going to tell me is that let's say the 13th comes along and in my situation with my Calendly settings, somebody can come in at 2:00 on Monday and set up an appointment for 3:00 on Monday if it's available. Okay. So, and that's fine. I want it to be that way. That's how I set it up. But as I'm working through my Monday, I will understand that if that time is open and I get to 3:00 and there's nothing booked, or maybe only one appointment is booked in that 3 to 5 time frame, then I have just found sort of a treasure chest of time that I can quickly pivot and find ways to, okay, in 2 or 3 minutes, can I reflect on where I am so far in my day and catch up on things that maybe I did get sidetracked on? Or can I look ahead to tomorrow and think about how I can get a jump on what I was pushing into tomorrow or pushing into the weekend, where I might be able to make some traction now. Okay. So that's the one thing that I would caution about leveraging a tool like Calendly, where you're trying to make yourself available to the public or to other people. I love it because the world that we're in today absolutely calls for the instant gratification of someone being able to set up time with you. And that can be really, really beneficial when you're presenting yourself to a new client. Okay. But recognize what that does to your calendar and make sure you adjust for it and account for it. Okay. Any thoughts or comments on that? Hi, Inez, is that you? Who was that?
I have a question.
Oh,
Does
sure, Rochelle.
So with Calendly, do you use that for people that are other than clients, like appraisers, or like if I don't know, just say an appraiser calls and they want to schedule, the appraisal sometime this week. Do you send them to the Calendly, or do you just book with them right on the spot?
Well, I think in that case, what I tend to use Calendly for is sort of more broad needs for people that want to sort of broad yet specific. So when people are coming to me and want to schedule one-on-one time, it's because they have a certain need in their business life that they're looking for my support or assistance to address or to, make progress on. So
something that's going to take a little more time then, right? Like more of a
or it's just, how would I explain what you're talking about in terms of an appraisal is going to require a lot more than, so what's going to require from me to be able to accommodate, in my example, a one-on-one, right? So let's say a team member schedules a one-on-one. They have the ability to say they're going to either meet me in the office or meet me through Zoom. And then there's a spot too, where when I set up the event, I have a place where I can prompt them if they want to give me a little bit of information, like give me maybe, a sentence or two about what they hope to accomplish with that meeting, give me a little heads up. All I need to be able to accommodate that is being either in front of my laptop or in the office in those times that I committed to be able to accomplish and have that meeting. What you're talking about with an appraisal has a lot of other factors that sort of play into it that I don't think Calendly would work easily with. You have to make sure there's access to the property. Do you need to be present? Will the homeowner be present? A lot of other things that you have to coordinate that I think make Calendly probably a less efficient choice as opposed to a more efficient. But from an agent standpoint, looking to gain new clients, and build production, I think that maybe you put a couple of hours into your Calendly that are specifically geared towards people that might want to get a home valuation, like I said, or don't understand certain components of the home buying or home selling process. Or maybe you have a couple of different options. Like maybe you do a first-time home buyer event that if somebody's brand new and maybe you put like Google ads or you market yourself on social media as an agent who can really help first-time home buyers, then maybe you create a Calendly event specifically around first-time home buyers. Like there are things that I think you can very specifically accomplish with Calendly, but something like an appraisal, does that help, explain and contrast the differences between those two events?
It does. No, and I use Calendly for kind of what you're saying, more for just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like buyer and seller presentations, I guess. And, when they want to, for initial clients, basically. But I feel like my day, and I guess it's more me just having to turn off the telephone because it's like, the appraiser's calling. Oh, we have to do the, the inspection. We have to so I think that's where I start getting all like, I don't want to say bogged down, but dropping everything to get it done, to get the business going. Cause, so I'm just trying to figure out different ways, but I don't know, I would not want to tell the appraiser, oh, check my Calendly. I don't know. I just.
No, I agree. Well, and I think,
Right.
like I said, I think there's other things that you have to coordinate to
Right.
make that happen. So,
Right.
but
But Calendly's, I love Calendly, though. I do.
Calendly's, it's,
That doesn't connect to Google though, right? That doesn't connect to Google.
that's a very good question in terms of the integration.
Right. I'd have to check.
I'm going to check on that, and I'm going to find out if, Calendly, there is, I will tell you that there is something that you can upgrade to within Gmail. So if Gmail is sort of where you're at, what you might even want to think about is, like, if you look under this create,
Mhm.
from your calendar, there's a place that says appointment schedule. Okay, this is a premium feature, so you're not going to get this with your free Gmail account, but I think it's like $10. Yeah, like $10 a month, even less, I think, if you pay for the whole year. But then you do have the ability, kind of like your own Calendly, built right into your Gmail account. So that's not something that I have a lot of firsthand experience with. And again, I'm not going to tell you to go and just spend the $10, but there are advantages to having a paid plan, not just the appointment setting feature, but there are some other things too. I think improved storage and so forth. So that might be something worth exploring too, that maybe moving over to the premium account and eliminating Calendly might make a lot more sense.
Right. So I have Calendly, Google, and my hard copies of everything. So I got to start eliminating the hard copies of stuff.
All right, pick one of them. Just pick one and start there, and then we'll
I
move
will.
from there. There is a way, I saw the question in the chat, that so when you create these new like event types, you end up with a link like this that you can copy. You can copy the link or you can share it. So you can embed it into a website, into an email signature, and into a lot of other things too. If you're doing like a social media post, you can embed the link there as well. So there is a lot of functionality with Calendly, and I would imagine that you have the same thing too if you chose to do the premium version of your Google account as well. Any other questions about so far with time blocking and with Calendly, maybe as an option, making yourself openly available for certain types of events and bookings, and how to manage that from a time blocking standpoint? Because there's one other thing I just wanted to take a few minutes. I'm just going to throw it out there. I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on it, but for those of you who are saying, okay, Deanna, I'm going to try the Gmail calendar or the Outlook calendar or whatever calendar platform, might accompany your email platform. And I might even try Calendly too, because I like that. It looks pretty cool. I think my clients would like it, but I still can't do away with all those Post-it notes. I still have all these lists. I'm still like Sarah, still writing stuff on the napkin. There's one other thing that I just want to throw out there that might appeal to you to get rid of the napkin, that again, you're going to be able to access as long as you have your phone or your laptop with you, which most of us do all the time. As long as you have access to those, you're going to have access to your to-dos. And that platform is called Trello. Trello is another free platform that you can upgrade if you want to. But I think if you're talking about just trying to compartmentalize your to-dos and your projects and the things that need your time and attention, I think you can absolutely accomplish that with the free workboard. The one that I'm showing you now on the screen is actually a Trello board that the PA broker's office uses. The way that Trello works is you can sort of create these columns that represent different groupings or categories. So from the brokerage standpoint, look at what their groupings or categories are. They have rules about how to use the Trello board. They have policies and procedures that might either relate to brokerage or specifically to the state. They have a bucket, a column that specifically relates to new agent topics and sort of bullet points. A topic that relates to all meetings that have to do with PA. So again, this is the PA broker's office, and I could even see how expansive it is, right? Licensing, compliance information, marketing information. Okay, so huge board, this is called, that for a group that's, hundreds and hundreds of agents across the state of Pennsylvania, you would expect it to be a very large board. But if you're just using it for yourself, again, your goal is to kind of get rid of the napkins, get rid of the Post-it notes, and maybe how can you leverage a Trello board in your day-to-day life to become your working to-do list, okay? Here's an example. Jenny and I in the office, Jenny who's wonderful, who I said, Jenny, everybody keeps talking about this thing, Trello. And I think it's going to be a rock star, but I really don't know how it's going to be a rock star. And so Jenny just took the ball and ran with it. It's fantastic. What we use it a lot for is agent conversations that we're having, onboarding conversations that we're having that help us move people through a process. Okay. And we can build out these categories, these columns, and then we can create specific cards. So each of these boxes is called a card. In our case, if I go with the example of onboarding, those specific columns might have to do with the different steps of onboarding. And each of the cards would be specific to an agent that might be moving through the onboarding process. Okay, so now how would that translate to you in your world, in your to-do list? This is an example of a Trello board that we were literally in the beginning stages. So Jenny has maybe gone through and helped to create some sort of column headers, but all of these cards or these little boxes within each column are still just the templated stuff from Trello. Okay, they're not actual things that we've added to these boards. Okay, but so maybe for you, what your columns might represent in Trello are your various goals or things that need your attention that you categorize maybe by sort of hot, warm, cold, or maybe today, this week, this month, this year. Okay, so now let's think about this for a second. September, October, November, we were talking about business plan, setting goals for the upcoming new year, right? So now you've got your business plan, you've got your goals. Now I'm saying take your goals and maybe consider putting it into a Trello board and organizing them by, again, today, this week, this month, this year. And then maybe taking that information and leveraging time blocking with your calendar to really take it down to that next level, let me manage a 12-hour day so that the activities in my 12-hour day today tie back to my Trello board that tie back to my business goals. How many times have you sat down at your computer and said, okay, I have nothing scheduled for the next 2 hours. I know there are things that I'm supposed to be working on. What are they? Where should my focus be? That's when you need that napkin or that Post-it note to remind you of what those things are. So Trello could be a really interesting way for you to explore going paperless with your to-do list. There are a ton of other things out there. There are even sort of to-do list apps that you can pay for that can consolidate not only your to-do, but also track how many minutes you're spending on each of those things every day. I'm practical. Most of us, even the numbers driven people like me, are not going to consistently put that type of process in place. So what I'm just trying to do is put out there for you, if you're feeling chaos or frustration or lack of efficiency, or you feel like you need your calendar to better align with what your personal and professional priorities are, then I think this is a great place to start to get organized. Get a calendar, get time blocking in place, and try for the next month to commit to it. It won't be perfect from the start. You won't feel perfectly accomplished every day. Life happens. But this is, again, a way for you to find the guardrails, to give yourself a framework to help you feel more successful, to feel more accomplished, because that in turn improves your motivation level to get after the next big thing. Okay? Just some ideas to throw out there. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, things we didn't address in the chat about anything that we covered today?
Hi, Deanna.
Hi, Lynette. How are you?
Okay, I'll put my hand down.
Oh, thank you. See, thank you.
That's okay.
I disclosure up front. I stink at the hand
Not a big deal.
thing.
Nobody died. And when we're speaking about time management, I see at the top you have, this is your personal screen,
Mhm.
EXP shortcuts.
Oh, here.
Sometimes it is a frustration after you log on, then you have to log on to the log on. Then you go someplace else and you have to log on. Um, and I find that to be time consuming. Do you have
Mhm.
any tips or anything you can share on how to set those up?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I'll tell you is that for me, the thing that was taking a lot of time for me was finding the shortcut um, that I found once before to log into something in the right place that, once I had it, I lost it. So for me, from an organization standpoint with technology, my first step was to create a bookmark here for EXP. But then what I found is that my list was so long over the course of time that I needed to further sort of like create subfolders, like further compartmentalize. So if I needed something specific to like onboarding, for example, so if you take a look at the bookmarks that I've saved in onboarding, if an agent needs a letter of intent, I've got a shortcut to it. If they need a cap deferment, I've got a shortcut to it. The join app, I've got a shortcut to it. So I'm saving those shortcuts in a place that makes sense. There are a couple of places within EXP that if you are signing in and then having to sign in again, to give you an example, like I think in one case, you can log into Enterprise.
Yes.
And then if you want to see your invoices, for example, I think because the invoicing system moved over to a new platform that when you click on your invoices in Enterprise, it prompts you to log in again. Well, next time it does that, bookmark the spot where you logged in for invoices, because once you bookmark it, the next time you need to see your invoices, you won't have to go sort of backdoor through Enterprise. You'll be able to go directly to that invoice login and save yourself a little time. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Because you can keep going down layers and layers and layers
Yeah.
to get to what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you bookmark it, change the name of whatever it is so that you recognize it. And so it's not an HA, like Rochelle said. Like, what is this supposed to be? Label it in a way that you remember it and that the organization makes sense.
Perfect.
If that helps. Yeah, but I definitely encourage.
When you go into Enterprise, you could go, down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
Never
That's
be
absolutely
seen
true.
again.
And there are so many things, right, that you don't need to go through Enterprise. You don't need Enterprise for SkySlope. You don't need Enterprise for ShareWorks. You don't need Enterprise for your invoices. You don't need Enterprise for KV Core. But it's about learning what those direct links are and bookmarking them in the moment so that you don't have to keep going through Enterprise to get there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, strategy ideas? If you have ideas that work for you that you want to share with everybody else, I would love for you to jump in and do that here.
Diana.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I'm not familiar with Calendly. Is it an app that I can download?
Calendly, something, Sarah? Let me double check on my.
Thank you so much. I like the
always
idea
use
of it.
It's very easy. It really is very easy to use. I'm just trying to think if I've ever actually used it in app form on my phone or yes, there is an app.
Okay.
Yep.
I will download it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you.
So I don't know, you probably can't see it from here, but I actually have the app downloaded, but I guess most of the time I just manage it through my
computer.
But
okay,
you can it's the same idea though, right? Is that if we're getting rid of the paper, then the goal is to be working in platforms that it doesn't matter the device in front of us, we can still do our jobs and still feel like we're productive at it and not feel like on it, I got to turn around
Yeah,
because I left that list on the calendar or on the counter
sure,
and walked out without it.
sure.
So,
I mean,
or
I
I
don't
threw
want
the
you to
napkin
throw
away
up.
accidentally.
Yeah. I don't want you to throw up, Diana, but I have a
Uh-oh.
CRM system for my clients, but I still have a recipe box that I have my clients' names. Please don't throw up, but I need to see them, like the hot clients.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that. You know something? There's something very nostalgic about a recipe box, Sarah. I'm not gonna fault you for the recipe box, but maybe I inspired you today to start pulling the cards, putting them into your CRM, or maybe, you know, organizing them differently in your CRM so you can save the recipe box for your recipe. Just a thought. Just a thought. Rochelle has committed to maybe trying a couple of different things, so hopefully you might consider it too. Anybody else have anything that they want to share or questions?
I think it will be so nice when my desk is clear of paper. Like I said, I have yellow sheets everywhere. So my goal is, yes, to eventually get everything, you know, online. We'll see when that will be. I don't know, but we're going to try.
Listen, I sit here every week on camera and look behind me. Okay. You can see the rainbow of color. That is not, you know, because I want to look like, I don't know what. I mean, clearly there's paper behind me, right? Clearly I am not in an absolutely paperless world, but in the same way that color coding my calendar is helpful to me and sort of helps the way that my mind processes and compartmentalizes the work that I need to do, so do these folders and the colors as well. Because in an effort to try and stay on top of my inbox and I have in my life, what I would describe as very diverse responsibilities. So there, in this moment, I could be doing training and teaching on organization, but this afternoon I have to switch gears and help address like an IT issue from a company standpoint. That's going to take a little bit of time. So I have to be able to be organized in a way that when I change hats or change gears, I can quickly pivot. I would love to get to the point where all of this paper is gone, but in the meantime, it makes for a very interesting conversation piece every time I start a new Zoom with somebody. So, but it's about moving towards a goal, like recognizing that all those pieces of paper or the overflowing inbox, or, you know, not having what you need when you need it on the go, recognizing that all of those things are like walking through mud. And what if you could just take a hose and rinse off the mud? How much freer would you feel? And lighter would you feel? And how much faster could you move? That's what we're talking about here, is just making changes that you can commit to consistently to help you feel better about your day-to-day productivity. All right.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else, if everybody else is good, then listen, I think you know what the homework is. Got to get out there and time block, give it a try. I would love to know what your experience is. If you're able to join us next Wednesday, that's how we'll kick it off. Anybody that wants to share, you know, some of the things that they might have taken away from today to get started, let me know. And remember too, the same link that you used to find us today at 10 o'clock is going to be the link that you can use on Friday to hear from Philippa and talk about nutrition. So if it's something that you know you and your family can benefit from, I hope that you'll join us live 9 a.m. Friday morning. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of my son now and give him a
Thank you.
big
Congratulations
virtual hug.
again.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, and I look forward to Friday.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.